I have to be honest with you, I've been having a bit of an existential crisis
Oh,
lately.
yeah.
And it's not just me, right? It feels like every time I open my laptop, there's, some new AI tool that promises to do my job better, faster, and cheaper than I ever could.
It is definitely the zeitgeist of the moment.
Yeah.
We're living through a massive disruption.
Disruption is, putting it mildly, it feels like an explosion. I mean, we're seeing tools that can write entire essays in seconds, solve complex calculus problems.
Debug code that would take a human hours.
Right. And on the surface, it looks like a miracle. Productivity is just through the roof.
It is. If you look at the raw numbers, the output per hour, tasks completed, we are seeing efficiency gains we haven't seen in, well, maybe since the Industrial Revolution.
Exactly. And usually when productivity goes up, we celebrate. But, and there's a big but here, I've been reading some stuff that suggests this free lunch might have a pretty nasty hidden cost.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Specifically, a paper by Dr. Jonathan Westover called Beyond Learning Outcomes, The Hidden Costs of Educational AI.
This is such a critical piece of research. Because you're right, the conversation is usually so binary.
So black and white.
It's either AI is cheating and it's bad, or AI is the future, get on board. Westover just takes a step back and asks a much more uncomfortable question.
Which is, what is this efficiency actually doing to our brains?
Exactly.
He introduces this concept right at the start that I really want to chew on. He calls it the performance capability paradox.
It's a brilliant framing.
It sounds a bit like corporate jargon at first,
Yeah.
but when I dug in, it just made so much sense.
It really does. So the paradox is this. You can use a tool that dramatically improves your immediate performance. Your output is flawless.
The essay is an A+, the code runs perfectly.
But at the exact same time, that tool can be eroding the underlying capability you need to do that work yourself.
Okay, let me just play devil's advocate here for a second. If my performance is up, if I'm getting the A right, does it actually matter if my capability is down? Isn't the result all that counts?
That is the trillion-dollar question. And the answer is, it depends. It depends on what happens when the tool isn't there.
Or when the tool gets it wrong.
Exactly. Think about it like GPS.
Okay, the classic example.
Right. If you use GPS to get everywhere, your performance as a navigator is perfect. You never get lost.
You always find the fastest route.
But if your phone dies in the middle of a forest, you realize very quickly that your capability, your ability to read a map, to orient yourself, has just completely atrophied.
So you're a passenger, not a driver.
You're a passenger. Westover is arguing that we are raising a generation of passengers. And that works fine, right up until the moment the car breaks down.
Or until you need to go somewhere the map hasn't updated for yet. That is a genuinely scary thought.
That is.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really look under the hood. We aren't just talking about kids cheating on history papers. We're talking about skill atrophy, a massive equity crisis, and, frankly, the future of human intelligence.
It sounds dramatic, but I think the stakes are actually that high.
So let's start with the tech itself, because AI is kind of a bucket term.
It is.
And Westover makes a really sharp distinction between the types of AI we're seeing.
Yes, and this is a vital distinction. He separates narrow AI from generative AI.
Narrow AI, that's the stuff we've had for years, right?
Exactly. Think of spell check, or those adaptive math games kids play, or even something like Duolingo.
Tools that help you do the thing.
They're essentially sophisticated calculators. They operate within a boundary, they help you process information or check your work, but they don't create the work for you.
Right, a calculator doesn't tell you which math problem to solve.
It just helps you with the arithmetic.
Okay. But generative AI, we're talking GPT-4, Claude, that sort of thing, that's a different beast.
A completely different animal. Westover calls these general-purpose cognitive assistants. And the key word, the one that changes everything, is substitute.
They don't just support the learning process.
They can substitute for it entirely.
That's the terrifying part, because if I use a calculator, I still have to know the formula. If I use ChatGPT, I can just type in the word problem, and it gives me everything.
The formula, the answer, the explanation.
The whole cognitive loop is just gone.
You've outsourced the figuring it out phase.
And the adoption numbers in the paper were wild. Something like 40 to 60% of higher ed students are using these tools regularly.
And can you blame them?
Honestly, no. If I was 19 and I had a tool that could cut my homework time in half, of course I'd use it.
Absolutely. It's accessible, it's cheap, and there's a huge FOMO factor.
Fear of missing out, yeah.
If everyone else in your class has a jetpack, you're going to look pretty silly walking up the mountain.
But institutions are buying in too. And this is where Westover talks about the efficiency trap. That Arizona State University example really stuck
Oh
out.
yeah, the ASU math pilot.
So they implemented these AI tutoring systems in their intra-math courses. And, if you look at the spreadsheet, it was a massive success.
The numbers looked great.
Pass rates went up by 10%, instructional costs went down. It sounds like a total win.
It does, and this is the trap. Efficiency is a metric of speed and cost.
It is not a metric of learning.
That's what the paper argues, that those improved pass rates might be masking a lack of deep understanding.
So are they passing because they understand calculus?
Or were they passing because the AI held their hand through every single problem?
Which leads us perfectly into the next section,
Yeah.
the individual toll. Westover uses this phrase that really hit home for me, cognitive offloading.
Which is just the scientific term for use it or lose it.
Exactly.
And it is very real neurological phenomena. The paper cites this fascinating study with engineering students and coding.
I loved this study. It's so counterintuitive. Break it down for us.
So they took two groups of students. Group A was allowed to use AI coding assistance for their homework.
Okay.
Group B had to do it the old-fashioned way. Manual coding, looking up documentation, banging their heads against the wall.
And I'm guessing Group A's homework looked amazing.
It was pristine. Better code, fewer bugs, submitted faster, high performance.
There's that paradox again.
Exactly. But then, and this is the kicker, they put both groups in a timed exam. No AI allowed.
Just you and the code.
And the students who had used the AI, they performed significantly worse.
Wow. So the tool that made them look like a genius on Monday made them fail on Friday.
Because they missed the struggle. And I know we hate struggling. We want things to be easy, but neurologically, that frustration you feel when you're trying to solve a problem,
That's your brain actually working.
that is your brain building new neural pathways. That is literally what learning is.
It's like going to the gym. If I have a robot spotter who lifts the barbell for me every time I start to struggle,
You can tell your friends you benched 300 pounds,
Yeah.
the bar went up and down, the performance happened.
but my muscles didn't do any work.
So when you have to lift a heavy box the next day without the robot, you can't do it.
That is such a clear analogy. We're using AI as a cognitive forklift.
And your cognitive muscles atrophy. But it goes deeper than just skills. It affects what Westover calls metacognition.
Learning how to learn.
Right. And this was the part about the Fortune 500 training director.
Yes, what did she say?
She noted something really disturbing about new hires, recent graduates. She said they were great at solving structured problems.
So if you gave them a clear prompt,
They can plug it into an AI and get a great answer. But if she gave them a messy, ambiguous, real-world problem,
where the answer isn't obvious.
they froze.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to start. Worse, they didn't know how to judge the output from the AI. They lacked that critical judgment to say, wait a minute, this looks plausible, but it's actually wrong.
That's terrifying for an employer. You're hiring people who look good on paper, but they're fragile.
Fragile is the perfect word. The paper talks about fragile confidence.
And imposter syndrome.
Exactly. Because deep down, you know you didn't do the work. So you feel like a fraud.
Which makes you afraid to try the next task on your own.
So you use the AI again. It's a dependency spiral. You outsource your confidence to the bot.
I want to pivot to something that I think is going to ruffle some feathers. Because usually we hear that tech in schools is the great equalizer.
Right. A Harvard tutor in every pocket.
But Westover's research suggests the reality is the opposite. He talks about an AI opportunity gap.
This was the most sobering part of the source material for me. We assume access equals equity. But it's not about who has the tool.
It's about how they use it.
Correct. Students who already have strong backgrounds, good critical thinking, maybe from affluent districts,
Yeah.
they tend to use AI as an amplifier.
And what does that look like?
They use it to speed up the boring stuff so they can do more advanced work. They ask it to challenge their arguments, to brainstorm. They're the drivers using the GPS to explore new territory.
Okay. And the students from under-resourced backgrounds.
The data suggests they are more likely to use AI to compensate,
To mask deficits.
to just get the work done because they're struggling. And by doing that, they bypass the very practice they need to catch up. So the gap actually widens.
That is just heartbreaking.
The skilled get more skilled, and the struggling get hollowed out. And schools are reinforcing this.
How so?
Affluent districts use AI for creative, open-ended projects. Low-income districts often use it for routine drills and, behavioral management.
So we're training one group to be architects and the other to be data entry clerks.
In a world where data entry is already being done by bots, we might be training them for obsolescence.
Okay, that is bleak. So we have individual brain atrophy, a widening equity gap. Well, let's throw one more log on the fire. The institutional crisis.
The assessment validity problem.
Right. If everyone is getting an A, what does a degree even mean anymore?
The signal's completely broken. That University of Texas at Austin example really highlighted this.
The computer science program.
Yeah. They realized their traditional coding assignments were basically useless. They couldn't tell the difference between a genius student and a novice who was just good at prompting the AI.
So if you're an employer hiring a UT grad, you have no idea what you're actually getting.
The degree used to be a certificate of capability. Now, it might just mean this person can copy-paste. The whole value starts to collapse.
Okay, I'm sufficiently panicked. But thank goodness the paper offers solutions, and I was relieved that ban AI wasn't the main strategy.
No, bans don't work. It's a game of whack-a-mole. You have to fight back with structure.
So let's talk about radical transparency. This came from the University of Michigan, right?
The Ross School of Business. They decided to treat students like adults.
A novel concept.
It is. Instead of vague warnings, they created a mandatory module on AI literacy and ethics. But not just don't cheat.
They explain the why.
They pulled back the curtain and said, look, if you use this tool to write your paper, here is what is happening to your brain. You will not learn the skill.
And it worked.
Academic integrity violations went down. It turns out, when you explain the trade-off clearly, use this now, be incompetent later, most students make better choices.
That's really empowering. Okay, solution number 2, assessment redesign.
This is about changing how we test. We have to move from grading the product to grading the process.
The Georgia Tech example here was my favorite part of the whole paper. It's so clever.
It is brilliant. So Georgia Tech just accepted that students would use AI to code. They said, okay, use the AI, generate the code.
Which sounds like an easy A.
You'd think so. But then the professors would take that AI code and intentionally insert bugs.
That's great.
Or they'd ask the students to optimize it for some weird specific constraint.
Huh.
The test isn't can you write code.
The test is, can you fix the robot's mess?
Exactly. And debugging is often harder than writing from scratch. You cannot fix the AI's code unless you understand the underlying logic deeply.
It forces that struggle back into the equation?
It does. And it mirrors the real world. The future workforce will be people managing, verifying, and fixing what the AI produces.
So they're basically simulating the job of the future. I love that.
It turns the threat into a teaching tool.
There was a third solution, too, for that equity gap. Cal State Fullerton.
Yes, the Digital Learning Equity Initiative. They recognize that first-generation students often feel lost with these tools.
Yeah, so they get intimidated.
Right. So Fullerton combined AI literacy with peer mentorship. They didn't just throw software at them. They gave them human guides.
Teaching them how to use it as a tool, not a crutch.
Exactly. Like, don't ask the AI to write the essay. Ask it to critique your thesis statement. Or ask it to explain this concept to you like you're 5.
Using it as a tutor, not a writer.
And retention rates improved. It turns out if you deliberately teach the amplifier mindset, you can close that gap. But it takes effort.
So transparency, new assessments, active support, those are the tactics. But the paper ends with a bigger, almost philosophical vision about future-proofing education.
This is the big picture we have to ask. What is school for? If an AI can write a perfect summary, why are we teaching summarization?
That's the question every board student has asked for 50 years. Why do I need to learn this?
And for the first time, the answer might actually be, you don't. The paper points to MIT's approach, the refocusing on distinctly human skills.
The stuff the machine is bad at.
Ethical reasoning, historical interpretation, complex synthesis, the stuff where the human element is the value. But the most powerful mental model for me was the analogy to medical education.
Yes, the anatomy lab. Walk us through that, because I think this is the key.
So think about how we train doctors. We have incredible technology, right? MRI, CT scans. They can see inside the body with perfect precision.
If I have a tumor, I want the MRI to find it, not a guy guessing.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
we still make medical students dissect cadavers. We make them spend hundreds of hours learning the muscles, the bones, the nerves manually. Why?
Because if you don't know what the liver is supposed to look like, you can't interpret the scan properly.
You need the mental model first. You won't know when the MRI is showing a false positive. You won't know when the machine is wrong.
So you have to learn the manual way first to build the foundation.
So that later you can use the super tool effectively. Westover calls this creating AI-resistant practice spaces.
Parts of the curriculum where you deliberately take the tech away.
Not because we're Luddites, but because we need to force the brain to build that mental model. It's like learning scales on a piano before you use a synthesizer.
We have to preserve the cognitive struggle.
If we skip the cadaver, we get doctors who can't operate without a screen, and that is dangerous.
That is such a huge aha moment. We started this talking about cheating and efficiency, but really this is a conversation about what it means to be capable.
It is. AI offers us incredible speed, but the price of that speed is capability, unless we are very, very careful.
So to wrap this up, what's the takeaway? For a student, a teacher, anyone trying to learn a new skill?
The takeaway is that the struggle is the point. You cannot automate the effort required to learn. If the process feels easy, if you're just flying through tasks with AI, you probably aren't learning much.
It's a tough pill to swallow. We all want the easy button.
We do, but we have to resist it.
So the next time you are tempted to let the AI write that email or solve that problem, I want you to pause and ask yourself, are you using this tool to skip the thinking? Or are you using it to challenge your thinking?
Because if the AI produces the output, your value as a human shifts entirely to your judgment of that output.
And you can't judge what you don't understand.
Well said.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening and keep those brains working. We'll see you next time.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.